Hello, hello. Welcome to the first episode of a new project that I'm starting today. The podcast was originally supposed to be in Spanish. It's going to be in a hybrid between Spanish and English. But today we're going to do an English episode, and as you can see behind me, this background is kind of weird. We're going to talk about movies. And we're not only going to talk about movies, we're going to talk about one of the best movies in 2026. We're going to talk in this brand new podcast, we're going to talk about Spider Man Brand New Day. And this is a very special episode. And with that, I have a very special guest. I would like to introduce a friend that I've met in college. We bonded over Marvel, and I'm so happy to have him here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Frank Schaul. Frank, my friend, welcome to the channel. Welcome to this debut of um, what's my podcast called? Roll the film. Roll the film.
Thank
Uh,
you for having me, man. It's an honor to be on here with you, man.
Thank you for being here, and of course, you are an avid Spider-Man fan. Tell
Yeah,
me,
baby. Gotta rep the webhead.
tell me, when did this love for Spider-Man came?
So I was about 3 years old. It was kind of like a year after the first Tobey Maguire film came out. So it was kind of like 2003. And I think it was like on syndication on like my local TV channel thing, channel surfing. My dad was channel surfing through to find something. And like he found like the Spider-Man movie that was playing on TV, and I was kind of like memorized by the whole thing. I was like, "Whoa, what's this right here?" And it's just kind of like it was the scene of like him fighting the Green Goblin for the first time, like at the New York City parade.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just really memorized by like this character's like, wow, he's very colorful, he's moving pretty fast and agile, and he's just kind of like, wow, this is like really cool. And then as time went over, I kind of grew up in that era of Toby's films, and I just really fell in love with the character because it's like he is very compassionate, he's very helpful of like the everyday folk, and it's like he just seems like very one of the most, if not the most relatable character of all time, because he's just kind of like the everyday man, like you and me, sort of like that. And ever since then, I just have like lots of memorabilia, like oh, like lots of stuff like behind me, as you can see, like a bunch of posters, Lego sets, my shirt. I even have like a PlayStation 5 of like the Spider-Man 2 PlayStation 5 with like wrapped around. That was pretty hard to get, but like I've just been like such a diehard fan, and I've just been loving everything Spidey since as long as I can remember, and he still holds a very special place in my heart still to this day.
Now, Frank, let me. Your number one superhero is Spider-Man. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong at all, my friend.
I mean, I can see it in your room. I've seen a tour of your room. It's been pretty amazing. Get it? Pretty.
Yeah, nice pun in there.
So yeah, let's dive right into it. Have you seen Spider-Man Brand New Day?
I have
Oh,
seen Spider-Man Brand New Day more than once. I've seen it 3 times total. My recent viewing was in a 4DX theater with like the moving chairs and stuff like that. That was
was it
probably
worth
the
it?
best. It was worth it. Yeah, that's probably the best theater experience of my entire life, even though I was this close to getting flown off my chair, but it was really worth it.
Okay, so tell me about that experience. What what went on when Spider-Man was swinging?
So when during the like most intense action sequences, such as like the opening scene with like the tank battle of him kind of like swinging around trying to stop the tank, that was like really intense. Because like the chairs were just kind of like rocking back and forth and stuff like that. It was like it was in sync with his movements, especially with like the swinging. It felt like you were actually swinging with him. Like it felt like it at least with the chair kind of moving back and forth and stuff like that. And there were like parts where it was kind of like, oh, like some a water tower exploded or a fire hydrant, it actually splashed water onto your face a little bit. And like just during those intense action scenes, it just felt like you were kind of moving around with the camera, like with all this like shaky cam and like all these like quick movements, the swinging, dodging, agility. And it was pretty cool. Like there were times where I just kind of like got flown out of my chair. It was kind of like, I know I'm probably going to get flown out of my chair and hit the face plant to the screen, but like it's freaking worth it, dude.
I gotta say, I have been called Unk plenty of times during the last year, and
Me
at this
too.
point, I don't think I could handle it. Look, just let me put this into perspective. I've seen Spider-Man Brand New Day 5 times now.
Hmm.
5 times. My last viewing was 2 weeks ago. I went to an 8:30 p.m. showing. I fell asleep.
Really?
I could
No.
not hang. I could not get through it. Even I love the freaking movie. Uh, just a fantastic experience. But yeah, I could not do it. Um, so, Frank, you've seen Spider-Man 3 times. Tell me your impressions.
So this is without a doubt the best MCU Spider-Man film that we've got. I mean, people say it's like No Way Home was peak and stuff like that, but this felt like an authentic, true to form Spider-Man film that we've been kind of wanting from the MCU since Civil War. In fact, this year marks the 10 years of Tom Holland being Spider-Man in the MCU, which is kind of like a whole full circle moment where it's like we finally saw him in Civil War, kind of like learning to be Spider-Man, and now like here we're finally seeing him finally doing some Spider-Man stuff with like just on his own. Like he's more independent, he's more like experienced, he's more seasoned into the job that he's been taken on to. And this is like the most mature we've seen this character ever since he was introduced in Civil War. And I really liked his growth and evolution in this film, with him like dealing with all of this like stuff that's around with him, as like his personal stuff, and also like the mutation that he's kind of dealing with it, because like lots of stuff goes around in this film a lot, but like Peter Parker was the heart of this movie, and just kind of like seeing him grow and mature and evolve into like a much more refined hero than what we've seen in the past. It was like very it was very heartwarming at times. It was very emotional, and it was just kind of like just made me really care for him, just trying to feel his struggle in a little bit mentally, physically, and like and all this other aspects that these guys going around with, especially with now that the world forgot that who he is. He no longer is MJ, and Ned don't longer no longer remember him, and then it's like it's just kind of it's very hard jerking at times. It's like not tear jerking. Um, but yeah, but in terms of like where I would rank Brand New Day, it's top four
Okay, we'll
of.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get
Oh,
to
okay, yeah.
that.
Yeah.
uh no, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you because we've seen how Spider-Man has evolved from Spider Boy from Iron Spider, right?
Yeah, Iron Boy Jr. or
From
something like to call him.
from being Spider Boy, Tony Stark's protege, to actually being a full-fledged Spider-Man
Hmm.
on his own right. And so we have seen Tom Holland grow into this character for over 10 years now.
Hmm.
Now he's in his 30s. I'm almost in my 30s. You're almost in your 30s as well. And so Tom Holland has grown with us. We have grown with Tom Holland. And hell, in the next Spider-Man movie, we might be married. Who knows? Who the hell knows? But no, I think that this Spider-Man has shown a lot of maturity. I think this is the most mature we've seen in all the Spider-Man movies. In general, when you include Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, I felt as though Marvel really put effort into making this movie a little bit more on the emotional side
Hmm.
when it comes to their interactions with MJ and how he dealt with the loss of Aunt May, which was a pivotal point for him. And we don't get on Uncle Ben, which yeah, I would have liked to see Uncle Ben, but I think Marvel really made a good point into developing that relationship between aunt and what's the word, nephew.
Nephew, yes.
Which is a very interesting angle here, and it's something I can relate to because I have an aunt that actually got me into Marvel. Uh, so it's very special. Um, but yeah, now let's talk about that. Your ranking. So you're saying that you would rank Brand New Day within the top four. Why
Top
is that?
four, yes. This film is actually a 10 out of 10. If I were to be completely honest, if we were to like just rank like MCU movies in general, Spider-Man Brand New Day is my top favorite MCU film of all time. Like I'm being dead ass serious.
No way. Over
Yeah.
Endgame and Infinity War.
Yes, sir. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but it's like this is like the most I've ever felt connected with an MCU film in general. But like I was just really invested in like the story, the characters, and what's going on around them. And it's like Infinity War and Endgame, phenomenal films, but like I feel like Spider-Man just had like much more. It was like just made with passion,
Yeah.
like for the fans that kind of grew up with this character, and like they filmmakers realized that how important this character means to people. So like on that kind of perspective, I can say that that's my favorite MCU film. But like in terms of like just Spider-Man films, it's the top four. I feel like four is a pretty good spot for Brand New Day. I kind of grew up with Toby's films, so like Spider-Man 2 was
Yeah.
just kind of like that one holds a special place in my heart. And both the Spider-Verse films are just like they're both just a work of art. I'm really invested into those movies a lot with the animation and just like the storytelling and just kind of like the concept of like all these different spider people like coming together on this glorious adventure. It's just kind of like very groundbreaking for what those films are. So um, yeah, that's what I would have to say about that.
I think this film really benefits from the change of director. I think uh, John Watts, God bless him, he made some great movies. He gave us Spider Man, but John Watts has been really there's been some elements that were not Spider-Man's favorite fans' favorites, like given the
Mhm.
relationship with Tony Stark, how much he was fleshed out, and people didn't like that. The fact that we still haven't gotten his own villain, personal villains, because he's
Yes,
still fighting other people's villains. And while yeah, you had Lizard, no, Scorpion.
Vulture. Yeah, Scorpion. Scorpion. Right?
Scorpion in this last movie, he was not the main character either. He was not the main
Mhm.
villain. But in terms of the maturity, in terms of how he dealt with the relationship, in terms of the swinging, because we've seen a lot of different angles with the swinging, we actually got a full fledged experience of how the mask. Uh, it- we see the mask from inside Tom Holland's
Oh yeah, that's a good
face,
shot right there. Yeah, I like that
right?
shot a lot.
And so we see how also the swinging informs his mental stability, because in the scene, we're gonna get into spoilers here, in the scene of the party when he sees MJ kissing uh, her boyfriend, it really breaks Spider-Man, it breaks Peter Parker mostly, and we see how that informs the way that he's swinging, the way that how he moves as Spider-Man, and it gives us a different angle of the character that we hadn't seen before, maybe.
I could kind of see where you're coming from. It's just kind of like exploring those like unseen sides of his character, where it's kind of like we know what he's kind of been through, and just kind of like seeing MJ with her new boyfriend was kind of like a breaking point
Yeah.
mentally for Peter. And it's like you can kind of see it, and it's like him swinging through in the rain, like he's trying to swing to escape like this whole reality that is just unfortunate to him, and how things have been within the time we saw him from No Way Home to now. There was like, I think near the end of like swinging, singing the rain, where it's like he's just falling down. I heard people say that he was attempting suicide during that scene right there, and it just kind of like when that clicked, it was kind of like, man, he's really broken. He's just kind of lost and just confused and just doesn't know what to do. Like he's a recluse, he's isolating himself, and is just kind of just lost that human connection that he had a long time ago. And just like that was kind of that was heartbreaking. Like there, like like when you realize it's like, oh, he was trying to attempt suicide, when seeing that and just swinging in the rain and stuff like that, and just wants to like just end it just by splatting on the ground.
Which is something that we haven't seen before in Spider-Man movies. We know in the comics that's what the character is like. He's broken. He has no money. He loses everyone he touches, and he loses himself at points,
Hmm.
um, even to the point of becoming. evil, so to speak, with the black suit. But we'll get into that later.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that's a great point. That's a good touch because we don't see that in Andrew Garfield's movies or Tobey Maguire movies. We do see in Tobey Maguire movies that he goes into a phase of sort of depression, but it makes it funny when it comes into Spider-Man 3. It makes him silly, makes him
Mhm.
an emo. We remember in that scene where he starts dancing. He
Yeah.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye. Yeah, and for me, looking back, it makes it hard for me to care about his emotional stability. It is funny.
Mhm.
It does the job. But when you compare them to the depth, the depth of Tom Holland's acting, which I think, and let me say this about Tom Holland, he's improved a lot in terms of acting because there were some scenes where I was like, this is Oscar worthy. Obviously, the Academy will not give him the shot. Obviously, the Academy does not care. He will most likely get more of a supporting role in the Odyssey for Telemachus rather
Mhm.
than Spider-Man. But I think that movie really showed Tom Holland's chops as an actor. Would you agree?
I'd say I full heartedly agree with that. I think that this is one of Tom Holland's, if not his best performances in Spider-Man: Brand New Day, because like we finally get to see Tom like within like a range with where he can get his acting with this character, with like him being like, oh, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that jokes, quips, and just is friendly and they cares about everyone. And when we see his Peter Parker, we see him that he's down on his luck, he's depressed, he's lonely, he's all over the place. He's a complete mess of what he used to be as we compare him to like what we've seen him in like the Home trilogy. I heard people say that's like the Home trilogy, like Homecoming through No
Right.
Way Home. And just kind of see that internal struggle that Peter is dealing with. It just really makes you really care for this character then more than ever because it's like he used to be like the happy-go-lucky kid in like Homecoming with like he really loved being Spider-Man. He always just wanted to get Tony Stark's approval to like be in the Avengers and stuff like that. But now with Brand New Day, we kind of see that like it's sort of like a burden to him that like
Mhm.
he has to take on this responsibility and like he's lost so much throughout the time we spent with this character. It's it's a bit on the more teary side because it's like people mature, people go through tragedy all the time, but like this is just kind of like he's at a breaking point where he just doesn't know what to do. Is he kind of questions himself as like, should I just keep going? Like, what am I even doing this for? You know, it's like, but even after all of that, he still finds a way to get back up and continues putting on that mask and he continues protecting the spit. He continue being Spider-Man, which is what his core identity attributes to, is just kind of like getting back up and continue to strive no matter how hard life beats you down. You always have to get back up.
I don't know if you remember back in English class. I don't know if you've ever seen this. The hero's journey and the internal battle of the characters, no? And I think this movie perfectly exemplifies. We've seen human versus nature, human versus monster, human, but this movie exemplifies human versus self because
Mm-hmm.
he really struggles with being Peter Parker. We see that in Spider in No Way Home, how the Green Goblin touches on that. The world tries to make you choose, but now we really do see that how he puts aside his own self, his own Peter Parker self, to become who he think who he thinks he's meant to be, Spider-Man. And we see this uh, evolution, no, from being Tony Stark's protege into becoming something of his own when Tony dies in Far From Home, and then in No Way Home he's trying to, he's more mature, but he's trying to understand this identity through other mantles, so to speak, through other people that had that stages. Andrew Garfield losing Gwen Stacy, uh, and then Tobey Maguire not panning out with Mary Jane, right? when he has to give and go. And we don't know what's become of Tobey Maguire. Maybe we will see that in Secret Wars. Maybe we'll see that in Doomsday. I don't know. But with that said, Frank, it's time. Give me your rankings of all 10 Spider-Man movies. And we're going to talk from animated all the way to live action.
All right, you bet. Cool. Yeah, so I have a list of all of them written down. So at number one, I have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I really like that movie a lot. It's probably a top three favorite films of all time. I just really like the concept of like exploring like all these different universes and all these spider people coming together and stuff like that. That was pretty groundbreaking for what it was. And then number two, I have Into the Spider-Verse. The animation in that was just revolutionary for the time, and it just led to like all these other animated films kind of like having like that 2D, 3D kind of a blend, like a stylistic choice on the animator's part. So I really admire that for that. At number three, I have Spider-Man 2. It's just one of those films where it's like we really see the main hero just kind of like get beaten down, but he still um is in like this stage. It's like, is this what he wants? What does he really want? Does he want to be Spider-Man or does he want to be Peter Parker? And then I have Brand New Day. It was just kind of like the same thing, but just kind of like he's just like internally struggling with like a lot that has been dealt with him and still trying to find a way to continue getting back into that battle even though he's lost so much and like he's alone and just trying to like find a way to connect with people and stuff like that. And then I have for number five, I have Spider-Man 2002. Pretty by the standards origin story, but it was pretty good for the time. Still holds up to this day, albeit a tad bit cheesy. Willem Dafoe, really loved him as Green Goblin, but like he did feel like a very comic booky villain in a sort of way. It's like we'll meet again, Spider-Man, and stuff like that. And then six, I have No Way Home. I feel like No Way Home, every time you rewatch it, it kind of like gets a little drop in quality each time because it's like that movie was like specifically made to be watched in a movie theater with like all
Yeah.
these like different things coming around and like the different like scenes that feel like an audience reaction in a theater would be more like, you get what I mean by that.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man 3 I have next. Spider-Man 3 I think is a pretty good movie. It's not as good as Spider-Man 1 and 2, but there were some like really goofy moments, such as like the emo dance, which I replicated thousands of times in my lifetime. And just kind of like Venom. I wasn't really a big fan of Venom in that movie. I felt like he was kind of shoehorned in. The Sandman stuff was pretty interesting with like trying like understand like the reasons why he's a crook was like, oh, he's just trying to get money enough to help his sick daughter, but like it felt completely shoehorned and actually tied him to making Uncle Ben's killer, which was kind of like a creative choice. It was very controversial at the time, but it worked for me. And then I have The Amazing Spider-Man, a much more grounded take on the character, much more in line with Batman Begins or The Dark Knight. Just trying to like see how would Spider-Man be portrayed in a real world like ours. And it was pretty okay. Like there were some things that I can kind of nitpick about that film. Like the lizard's plan was just kind of, it was just like turning everyone into lizards and stuff like that was just kind of felt like a little campy at times a little bit. And then I have Far From Home. There were times in Far From Home where it's like I'm on like a mixed bag about it. There were some things I love, but there were just some things that I just like didn't really like. Most of the time, it did felt like a Disney Channel sitcom, like an episode of Hannah Montana, but with Spider-Man. And I liked Mysterio a lot in that film, but like him just being like tied to Tony Stark and having beef with Tony Stark, it just didn't really make him like that Mysterio in a way and sort of like that. And then I have Homecoming. It's a pretty fun high school comedy flick. Nothing special of it here. It's just I'm sort of mixed on like the mentorship with Tony and Peter. Like it was just kind of, I don't know. I feel like Spider-Man is just like one of those characters where he doesn't really need the approval of other heroes to like do hero stuff. It's just kind of like just do the heroing yourself. You don't need Iron Man's approval just to do what you do, you know. But it did have some good comedy. It had some good performances. The high school setting, albeit a tad bit unrealistic and a bit campy. I didn't mind Homecoming. It's pretty okay. And then last, I have The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I actually really liked this film when it first came out. I saw it in the theaters for the first time, but then over time, I kind of realized that like this film is kind of a bit all over the place. It's juggling so many stuff and like so many underdeveloped storylines and characters, and it just felt like it was just trying to tackle so many things at once, and it just kind of fell apart at the more it progressed and stuff like that. I will say the swinging in that film, some of the best swinging
Yeah.
we still have seen in a Spider-Man film, and that's still the suit in that movie is just my favorite live action suit of Tom, Toby's, and Andrews. I really liked the colors of that suit. I like the web pattern. I like the big eyes and stuff like that. But Dane DeHaan, Zari Osborn, and Green Goblin was pretty bad. Jamie Foxx as Electro was not necessarily a main villain. He was just more of like a henchman than the actual foe of this movie. And then the whole thing about the parents of Peter like being pivotal, it just didn't really work because it just felt like it was kind of tacked on, even though like they briefly explored in like the first Amazing Spider-Man film. But and then if we were to include like the Sony Spider-Man universe, even though it doesn't have Spider-Man, they would all just be below TASM 2.
Yeah. I mean, Venom is, I think, a little bit redeemable just because Tom Hardy, I think, is a tremendous choice for Venom.
Mm-hmm.
And it pains me to the core that he has not been pinned against Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, because he would be a tremendous pairing.
I know,
Both of
dude.
them
And even
together would be tremendous. The world is missing out on it, and I hope to God that he shows up in Secret Wars, which I don't think he will, but it will be insane if he did.
I know, man. I mean, Marvel has pulled off some surprise appearances without anyone knowing, like
Yeah,
Killmonger and Black Panther 2
yeah.
off the top of my head. So it's just one of those things where it's like anything could happen. I really love Tom Hardy. He's one of my favorite actors, and I felt like his Venom was pretty good. But it's just kind of like the more goofy side of Venom just doesn't really sit well with me. I like when Venom's kind of scary and like kind of menacing a little bit, and here they just kind of made him more goofy and goofier as the films went on. And then Morbius, just bad. Madam Web, worst
I
film
gotta
I've
say,
seen in the whole time.
interestingly enough, the best portrayal of Venom has been in these Insomnia games.
Yes, the
I
Insomniac games. I really love those games to death.
I love how the symbiote plays a role within Harry, and how it plays a role within the relationship between Harry and Peter Parker. And I really hope it touches on that, which I'm gonna talk about. I need to backtrack a little bit on Spider-Man Brand New Day. That mutation thing.
Yes.
That mutation thing about how he becomes more arachnid. I don't think they delved into that very much for a reason, and I think that very reason is going to be because that mutation is a symbiote, and I don't think many people realize this, and it's not being talked about at all. I may be wrong, but I couldn't explain a reason where we go from Tom Holland being in No Way Home, and then the symbiote in the post credit scene being Tom Hardy in the post credit scene, right? How he
Right.
said, "Oh, delicious," something like that, and then you go into, "Oh, he has a mutation," but nobody talked about it. There was no background explanation for it in any of the prior movies, so it's fair to say that these could be the lead up to the symbiote. But with that said, I'm gonna jump into my own rankings, and
Okay.
feel free to debate me on this. Last place, I have Spider-Man Far From Home. I think this is by far the least interesting Spider-Man movie for me. We go into the elementals, which I think were are some of the most boring characters I've seen in Spider-Man film.
Hmm.
And in the trailers, they look cool. But when you actually look at it, being a Mysterio invention, it makes it very lame. It makes it very non-threatening. It loses the impact of what the elementals actually are in the comics, being an actual Avengers level threat.
Oh yeah.
But in this, they play on into that joke that they're not actually level Avengers level threat. I didn't see important. I thought it was stupid to have the inclusion of Talos being Mercury.
Oh yeah, that was kind of dumb.
I did not like how he was just a spider monkey, which I thought it was a silly
Oh
name,
yeah, the night monkey.
the night monkey. Um, I did like the reveal to MJ. I thought it was
Mm,
a good play into how they play into her character as she's smart. She knows she's looking at you. She likes you, so she's noticing you, right? So she
right.
knows you're Spider-Man. And I didn't like how they made him from bring this brilliant guy who killed Ebony Maw in Infinity War, who created this plan, to a stupid guy who almost killed one of his teammates because he got jealous. It didn't make sense to me how we went to that. This is why I blame John Watts on the Spider-Man films.
Wait, were you talking about the E of this scene where he's like he has the glasses and like he targeted a drone to like Brad or
Yeah.
something like that?
Yes,
That was so
exactly.
freaking dumb right there. It was like, what? Where are we going with this? It
Yeah,
was even like, just what is this?
and then this trustworthy guy that just Stark Industries. He gave you a multi-million-dollar invention that he created for you, and just because he felt good, he felt nice to you, you gave it away. It didn't make
That
sense.
Yeah, that was kind of an outer character moment because it's like Peter barely knew this Quentin guy, and he's like already, oh yeah, you're the next Iron Man. Welcome to the Avengers, and it's like, dude, you just don't know him fully. It's like, are you sure you want to do this? It was like, yeah, that was kind of stupid. Not gonna lie.
Because at that point he had already fought Thanos once.
Hmm.
He had already dealt with Tony's death. It felt like he was a step back from maturity, and then having to rely on Happy Hogan felt a little bit too much for me.
Hmm.
Um, I'll say Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, I think, was fantastic. I always love Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. I wish he wasn't killed off so soon. I think it's a shame that he was not used properly, and I'm gonna say he was not used properly. In second to last place, I'm gonna have Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Hmm.
Look, it's a good movie. It's a campy movie. It introduces to Spider-Man. It introduces us to the relationship between May and Peter Parker, which is fundamental for the next films. Uh, but I truly did not like how he depended on Tony Stark for everything.
Hmm.
Again, you had already this development of he's already fought Cap, he's already fought Carly Wade, he's fought um, Division. No, 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 not Division. Other characters, Bucky,
Hmm.
Sam, and then he he's now Spider-Man's protege, which I get. They were already going for that, but I'm really sad that they couldn't move on from that. And third to last place, and this pains me because I actually really loved Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I think he was a tremendous choice for Spider-Man, and it showed in No Way Home how he dealt with the grief, how he dealt with uh, being sort of less trusty of the Spider-Mans.
Hmm.
Um, but TASM 2, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it was just too convoluted. There were too many things going on. The one thing that's redeemable to me is Gwen Stacy's death, because
Yes.
it gave him a motivation. It gave him a net that we hadn't seen before, right?
Right.
And it informed his story forward. And I wish that they hadn't used uh, or Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 3 in the future, because I wish, because they were talks that they were going to include Vulture, uh,
Ooh, yes.
and it would have given him a little bit more of a human side, you know.
Yeah.
TASM 1 is next for me.
Very
Again,
underrated one. Like,
great, great swinging scenes, but I couldn't even tell you a scene from the movie. I like the lizard. I thought Rice Ilfan was a great casting as the lizard. That was in the first TASM, right? Yes.
yeah, that was the first one.
Um, cool fighting scenes. I liked Stanley's cameo.
Oh, that's the best one. One of the best
I
with him in
like
the
his
library.
performance. I love Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben. I
Ooh, yeah,
think
that's a good casting right there.
tremendous actor. Sally Field as Aunt May,
Very
and
underrated
then
Aunt May.
we get a glimpse into I think one of the greatest chemistries in movie history, which is Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield.
Mm-hmm.
Which at
And
that point I think they were already in a relationship, and
they were, yes.
it makes it that much impactful.
Makes it more realistic because of the fact that they were actually dating in real life as the films were being filmed. It just made it like their chemistry that more much real than what than it already was. You know.
And I also love the fact that they gave him a sense of duty, in the sense that in these particular films, yeah, you lose Gwen. You were you swore to protect him, but you also lose uh, the captain, Captain Stacy,
Oh yes.
and it makes you deal with grief. It makes you deal with, are you actually good for them? Are you actually better in their lives, or are they better off without you? So I thought that inclusion was pretty special. Nevertheless, it's on my bottom four. Then Spider-Man 3. I have Spider-Man 3 in eighth place because, or sixth place, I don't know anymore.
I think you're at
Because,
seventh.
yes, seventh place. Because I love Tobey Maguire. I'm gonna be biased towards Tobey Maguire, but I think this movie juggled with a lot. Again, same thing with Spider-Man 2, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It dealt with Venom. It dealt with the discovery of Peter's identity with Harry. It dealt with the fallout of Sandman. It dealt with him realizing who killed Uncle Ben. It dealt with him being getting fired, and then his rocky relationship with J. Jonah Jameson.
Hmm.
And I wish, side note, Sam Raimi did not want Venom in the movie,
That is true. Yes,
and
wasn't
so
really.
it really affected the direction of the movie, and it just felt like he was just there to be there. You know, he played a big role, yes, but it didn't feel like it was planned. And so I wish if they delved more into like the Harry and Sandman uh, trope, it would have been a much better movie than it was.
Have to agree with you on that.
And I'm gonna get burned for this next one. In sixth place, I have Intro to the Spider Verse.
Ah, it's
I
all right.
gotta say, I like live action more than I like animated. I appreciated the artistry. I appreciated the inclusion of Miles Morales. I think Miles Morales is one of the best characters in Marvel history.
I love
I
Miles. He's
love Sunflower. Um, I love the gender bending of Octopus, Doctor Octopus.
oh yeah, Olivia Octavius. That actually came as a surprise when I first saw this. I was like, "Who is this random scientist?" And it was like she reviewed herself as Olivia Octavius. It's like, "Oh, this is Doc Ock." It was like that came out of nowhere. That was pretty cool.
I did enjoy the relationship between Gwen Stacy and Miles Morales.
Mhm.
It gives you a depth um, glimpse into actually the Spider Verse of all the Spider-Man. It's not only Peter Parker. It is a Peter Parker that's more mature. Peter Parker that actually that can actually be a guide to other people, like Tony Stark was to Peter Parker. I love that. But again, I gotta go with live action for me.
I could understand that. Yeah,
In fifth place, the original Spider-Man. This
it's a
movie
classic.
was the second hero movie I saw. I got introduced to the X-Men first. But I remember watching this movie in 2005. No, 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 no. I'm joking. No, 2003 because it came out in 2002. I don't know if I seen it in theaters. I don't recall. I was like 4 years old, but I just remember the scene. I remember watching in my bed, and when he goes, when he's trying to his powers, I just remember copying him and then just trying to jump into walls,
Yeah.
and just being crazy with it. And so I think it's very special when Tobey Maguire was the first glimpse to the most beloved character in Marvel history. That's why it has a special place in my heart.
Hell yeah, dude.
Later we have Across the Spider Verse.
Mm.
I have good memories of this movie. I loved Oscar Isaac as Spider-Man 2099, if I'm not mistaken. 2099.
2099.
I thought he was fantastic. I love. We get more glimpses into the Spider Verse. I love Spider Pig. I love Spider Noir, uh, which was fantastic. Were fantastic characters, and I love that it gives us more into a glimpse into what can actually happen in the future because we get more into adaptations of live action. So Beyond the Spider Verse could be the actual introduction to Miles Morales in the MCU.
Ooh, that would have loved to see. Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes, but I think that's where they were hinting at.
Hmm.
At top three, I have Spider-Man No Way Home.
Top three. No Way Home. Okay, let's go.
Spider-Man No Way Home. Um, this movie was special to me. This was my last time I went to a midnight premiere and actually did not fall asleep. Uh, yeah, this movie was special. I can remember the very first time I went. Packed theater, right? The
Right.
We knew what was going to happen because we have seen the leaks. Everybody has seen the leaks. I remember Andrew Garfield being like, "I'm not the werewolf." I remember Tobey Maguire being spotted on the set. I remember the set leaks where they were all three together,
I
and
remember that too.
just the portal scene with Ned uh, going in, and then it was just a random guy. Turns out it's Tobey Maguire. Oh, it's just another Peter Parker. It's Andrew Garfield, and everybody loses their minds. I love seeing Willem Dafoe doing his own stunts for Green Goblin. I loved seeing the inclusion of the lizard, and I thought Doc Ock being the first villain that showed up. And then when he sees Tobey Maguire, when he's like, "Dear boy, how are you?" It felt like he was talking to us as well.
Yeah, that week is kind of like you're all grown up, and like a little check in with an old friend, kind of.
Yeah, and it was just super special to me. It made me share a tear once or twice. I've seen that movie. I saw the movie 4 times as well, and that's why these movies sell, right? Because it gives you a relativity aspect that you can relate to the character.
Yeah.
At number two, Spider-Man 2. It's damn near the perfect Spider-Man movie. You get more into a glimpse of his grief with losing Uncle Ben. Uh, Sandman having a very beautiful story, and it informs the later story as well. When Spider-Man 3, uh, we find out what he does, and then falling into Collider, Super Collider, and becoming Sandman. Just a beautiful story. I thought this was Tom McGuire's performance as Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker, and as well as Spider-Man. Uh, just beautiful.
Very beautiful.
I gotta say, as far as Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire movies go, I hate Mary Jane. I think she's in my bottom Spider-Man romances.
Okay.
Mary Jane Watson, hot
Yeah.
take. I know, I know.
I know. I have the same thing too. Like Mary Jane in those films were kind of. It's like Peter. I understand that you're out there saving the world and stuff like that, but why didn't you bother coming to my freaking play? Like, come on! I have to go meet with my other boyfriend, like the astronaut.
Right, and it's just like she's whiny. She's not helpful at all. Like Gwen Stacy or MJ.
Hmm.
It's just Mary Jane Watson. They did her a disservice. So maybe they recon something in Secret Wars or Doomsday. Hopefully, they make her likable.
Hopefully, yes.
And in last, first place, this may be a recency bias, but Brandy Day.
Hell yeah.
From how he deals with the grief of losing on May still, how he deals with the PTSD of the I don't love you scene, with losing
Oh yeah.
everybody, losing the connection with Ned, the connection with MJ, and how he deals with that, becoming depressed, pushing aside his spider self. And I gotta say, spoiler alert, the inclusion of Jean Grey, Sadie Sink as Jean Grey, I think it's perfect casting. I think she's gonna kill it in the future. I think she's, of all the Stranger Things characters that we could have seen, she was the perfect one to bring into the Marvel universe.
Hell
Uh,
yeah. She was a good choice.
she brings a death into the character, or like, I'm gonna play with you, I'm gonna fuck with you. Sorry for the expletive here, but yeah, I'm gonna fuck with you with your feelings. In that scene where he says, "Go ahead, Peter, touch her."
Oh man, that
Right.
scene stressed me out, man.
You
Like,
could
come
feel
on.
the rage. It made me feel the rage inside me, because we've all dealt with disappointments at some one point or another in terms of love. And then when you see, oh, my guy finally got what he wanted after years, and then she goes, "Psych, it's me again," and it's just Sadie Sink brings a death that we hadn't seen before. It's just beautiful,
Very beautiful.
and the inclusion of Bruce Banner as Hulk makes sense. I felt like he was a little bit misused, because I feel like there was no depth into his inclusion. I know that we're gonna get into the point where the inhibitors play a big role in the X-Men.
Hmm.
Spoiler alert, because there's a scene that is a dead giveaway that the inhibitors could be dangerous because it could inhibit others from having powers. And what do we see in the movie? We see the inclusion of Jean Grey. And what is Jean Grey?
A mutant.
A mutant. And we see that in the X Men movies, there is a internal battle between wanting to exterminate the X Men or wanting them to be actual heroes. There's a hatred towards them. And it's just almost like the same thing where we see Ego implanting cancer into Peter Quill's mom,
Mother.
mother.
Yes.
And then there's a realization of, shit, you did that. And then it expands into the lore of like, yeah, you're also a hero, you're Spider-Man, but you also did this. You're genius. It also plays into the fact that it does echo Tony Stark's um, intention of building a suit of armor with Ultron, which he ultimately becomes the villain. So I'm interested to see how that plays out in Secret Wars, if it does in Secret Wars or if it does in the X-Men movies. So
Hmm.
we'll see.
Yeah, I
Which
think it might have a big plan in like the X-Men movies, especially because it's like mutants. Like people are very in the Marvel universe. People are always very divided about the mutants because it's kind of like what role do they play? Are they actually heroes or are they just freaks? You know, it's always that ongoing debate and stuff like that. But maybe the Inhibitor just kind of like has that conflict with certain members of the X-Men. It's just kind of like, ooh, this is like a chance for me to finally be normal, but at what cost? Sort of say, if you get what I mean.
Hmm.
So,
And I think that the inclusion of Punisher, I loved it.
oh yes, the Punisher
Uh,
was so good in the
the
movie.
Punisher, it's a complete 180 from what his show is. Because anyone that has seen the show, I haven't seen the show, but I have heard from people that have seen the show that it's complete 180
Hmm.
from Frank Castle in Spider Man, which is a grumpy old guy that is depressed from losing everything as well. And we see that glimpse into, oh, this guy has issues when Jean Grey takes over his mind to rage asshole in The Punisher.
Oh yeah, the Punisher doesn't play well with others, my friend.
You know, and so I did like that it grounded Spider Man a little bit better. It gave him a little bit more of a maturity, sort of rated R uh, persona, so to speak, in Spider Man Brand New Day.
Hmm. Kind of
Uh,
pushing that PG-13 rating a bit.
yeah, a little bit. And so I thought that him being the protective of MJ, being this realization of like, yeah, he saved your life, so you have to do the same thing for him. And just like that scene of like, if you want to skedaddle in the hospital, I got you. And he becomes Spider Man for a bit. And so I thought that was really special.
That was pretty cool. Yeah.
And I think that John Bernthal is a fantastic art actor. We saw him in the Odyssey. Both of them together in the Odyssey, actually. I don't know if you've seen the Odyssey.
I have actually recently. I really like the Odyssey.
Yeah. Zendaya is also in the Odyssey. And it just I'll talk about the Odyssey later on.
Mm.
Um we're gonna close out with final thoughts about where you think this character is going to go into the future of the MCU.
Okay, yeah. So this is going to be a spoiler, but like the post credits, is it even considered a post credit scene, or is it just
I
kind of
would
like a
say
little?
so. Hmm.
Yeah, maybe we'll say like the post credit tease to where we can see Spider Man next highly points to Infinity War, but I mean not Infinity War,
Doomsday.
Doomsday. I just had a flashback not too long ago about like man, the hype for Infinity War was so real. But anyways, Doomsday. I think because we saw like the Spidey tracker,
Yeah.
it showed Tom Spider Man is still in New York. And even as it pans out into space, that tracker of Tom is still on Earth. But like when it shows like the new tracker into space, it could be another variant of Spider Man. It could be Toby, could be Andrew, could be Miles. Um, it's kind of up in the air as to what that tease can lead to, but like there's a good chance that Tom could appear in Doomsday, maybe Secret Wars, because in the Secret Wars comics of the 80s, that's where he got the symbiote suit, like in Battle World. So that kind of like has like a whole for a full circle moment and kind of like a homage to that storyline. It's kind of like um yeah, Peter and all these other variants of other Marvel characters get reported to Battle World, where we can kind of see like a Avengers versus X Men sort of storyline
Yeah.
as they're like trying to like come up with a way to stop Doom, but in the doing so, they kind of like have conflicting ideas and like how to approach said problem and stuff like that. So that's where I can kind of see that tease going through here. It's just kind of like all these heroes coming together. Tom's suit gets heavily damaged. He finds the symbiote, repairs it, and then he gets the black suit. I don't know if Toby were to be in Secret Wars, he could kind of prevent Tom from like letting the symbiote corrupt. And it was like, oh, I've seen this before. I don't want this to turn out badly as it did for me or something like that. But that's just kind of like where I'm at up in the air with the whole that tease leading up into Doomsday. But he could be in Doomsday. They're just not. They want to keep it as a surprise, to not spoil the big stuff.
And we've seen the chair reveal, right? We know that Magneto is coming back. We know that Charles Xavier is coming back. We know that Beast is coming back. Um, we know that Jean Grey is going to be in Secret Wars.
Oh yes.
Um, so the question here is: we've talked about Toby, we talked about Tom Holland, but do you see a place for Andrew Garfield Spider-Man going forward?
Yes, I do think Andrew could come back in Secret Wars as kind of like this is going to be the culmination of not just the MCU up to that point, but like all the Marvel movies from like the Sony Marvel films, the Fox Marvel films, the I'm hoping for an Eric Bana return
Yeah,
as the Hulk from 2003. I really think his Hulk film is very underrated, but like I feel like this is kind of like the culmination of like every single Marvel film from like ever, and it just sort of like resets the MCU, like reboots it into like a new timeline where it's kind of like you have characters that want to come back or actors that want to come back, they could come back or recast other actors and just kind of like what James Gunn did with the DCU with Superman, or not like
yeah.
the Flash. Is how
Flashpoint.
it's how like yeah, Flashpoint. Yeah, so it's kind of like an active like soft reboot where it's like some things remain the same, but like we'll see new stuff and hopefully the X-Men, Fantastic Four, Avengers, Thunderbolts, and all that stuff to get streamlined into one timeline, and that's the only timeline we could follow. But yeah, I would definitely like to see Andrew come back because it's like he's the only Spider-Man out of the three that hasn't fought an alien. So like
Yeah,
imagine him getting teleported to Battle World and finally getting his chance to battle an alien. So it's like Marvel, Kevin Feige, listen up, please. You got to honor that. You teased it in No Way Home. Make Andrew fight Venom or anyone, any alien character. So
if there were anyone to fight Tom Hardy's Venom, I think it will fit him much the better. I think, just because they
Mhm.
have more of a. I'm not stuck to one universe. Yeah, you're in the Sony universe, but so is Tom Hardy's Venom, and
Yeah.
so we'll see how that goes. I think, and I don't know if I should say this. I don't know if I want to spoil this, but I have it on good faith that I think that tracker leads Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
I think it might as well too. I'm having a feeling it's Toby.
There's been leaks out there.
I have seen the leaks, yes, and it's it kind of
It's
fits the letter.
it's we might anyway. We're not gonna get there yet. We'll
Yeah.
talk about Doomsday later on. And Frank, I would love to have in future episodes talking over Marvel if you're willing.
Oh yes, man. I would love to come back for anything like Marvel related. Any other movies, I'm always down for. I like going to the movies. I'm an A-lister. I try to go to movies at least 3 times a week. So
A lister for the win. Me too, man.
yeah, boy. But yeah, I'd love to come back on the podcast anytime soon, man. I thank you for having me. It's been a hell of a blast talking about Spider-Man for like the past hour with you. I had a really fun time, man. Thank you.
Of course. And you're always welcome into the channel. And thank you guys for those that tuned in. For those that will tune in on YouTube. He's going to be on YouTube, by the way.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Mark my words. I'm declaring this into the universe, into the multiverse. If we stick to this plan, if we do things together, Frank, something's going to happen. We're going to be the Secret Wars premiere.
Ooh, that would be an event I would love to be there. Yes.
Who doesn't want to be there? So, Kevin Feige, we're here. We are willing. Bring us to the Secret Wars premiere.
Yes, sir.
That being said, Frank, thank you so much for being here. And to you that has been watching, thank you. Keep watching. We'll bring more content, movie content. We're gonna be doing a hybrid between Spanish and English. It's gonna be a fun channel. I'm very excited for this, and we're gonna resume in the next few weeks. I won't be here next week because I'm going to Washington. I'm
Oh,
excited for that.
nice.
But thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back soon.
Alrighty. Thank you for having me. Peace out.
Peace out.